But would you clarify that if this fails today and the lawsuit is still ongoing, that the next council, as the new members, the old members go out and the new members come in, they can bring it to the table to be voted on again, to be reconsidered?
Not to be reconsidered, but they can bring it back up just like this resolution. They can bring up the same exact resolution. The new council could do that next month if they chose. No, 2 months from now, if they chose to do so.
May I?
Okay. I'm going to let Byron speak. You have a minute. Go ahead, Byron.
What's going on here is we've got a lawsuit that this council filed unanimously with the signature of the parish president, who is now crawfished. He's not here today, but he's also crawfished and decided not to back the lawsuit all of a sudden due to campaign donations. That is my feeling on this. I do not think that he nor any member of this council filed this lawsuit in any way, shape, or form to hurt anyone in this room, any industry in this parish, or to hurt this parish whatsoever. I think we had only but good intentions for the parish. I still feel that the lawsuit may have some very good intentions into it. But there's several things I've had to look at, and the main thing being the fact that I represent everyone in this room. Ms. Marler represents the people in her district, maybe only in name, but she also represents all the people in this parish, and so does everyone else on this council. And overwhelmingly, the people in my area, not just from voting results or election results, that's not what this is about at all. But I am your representative, or one of your representatives, just like the rest of these people at this table. And I have been asked overwhelmingly by 70, 80, 90% of the people that are living in my area to stop this lawsuit. Whether they misunderstand it, whether they don't like it, whether it's a perceived or a real threat. I've seen that there's some jobs that could possibly be lost with this. There's a lot of thought I've had to put into this. I've done a lot of agonizing. There's been a lot of torment on this. Some kind of way or another, I've been painted as the poster boy for this. Well, that's fine also. I don't mind speaking up and speaking out and talking to any of these people in the room, which I have spoken to most of you. But the thing is right now is that I am a representative of these people, and most of them have asked me to bring this to a halt. And I'm asking my council members to please listen to the other people in the room, whether they're for or against this lawsuit. This is no political ploy, campaign trick, or anything else. And as Ms. Marler just asked and had clarified just now, that was a new thing I heard this morning. I mean, it's like you can't fight a winning battle here. Because I said, okay, you want the lawsuit stopped? I've heard this overwhelmingly. Even after Election Day, I had people came to me, I voted for you, but I don't like the lawsuit. I'm scared of the lawsuit. I don't understand the lawsuit. Okay, fine. I also noticed some of these oil companies are actually twisting some arms behind the back to our local vendors, and I have to have a response to that. I'm not going to point anybody out in particular because I don't want to hurt anybody locally. That's not my job here. My job is to try to help these people. But I am your representative. And I feel like I have an obligation here. I'm not here to castigate quote-unquote greedy trial attorneys, quote-unquote dirty oil companies, or try to sit here and try to castigate my fellow council members. I think this was done in good conscience by everyone, no matter what anyone may think. But there was two things that I heard was, one, no one was allowed to speak on this, that this was some type of secretive move. I really don't believe that unless you lived in a cave. This stuff was in a newspaper, on TV, on computer, online, whatever. But let's say I believe you that you didn't know about this. Maybe somebody wasn't brought to your attention. I do know for a fact that these lawsuits were brought by process servers or sheriff's deputies to each and every oil company on or about December 13th, and they were handed them to them individually. So at that time, they did know that they were being sued, whether it's rightly or wrongly by anyone feels in this room. They did know, so they cannot deny that at all. Maybe the vendors in the room, the local citizens might not know, and maybe they didn't get a time to speak for or against this. This is your day in court right now. I've made every attempt, as we have several of us in the room here, that came out, there's some that are for and some that are against this suit. I would certainly ask everyone in the council to listen to what they have to say and consider it in regard to this. And I would also ask everyone who wants to get up and speak to be sane, civil, and be very patient with us also and listen to what we have to say. I don't think anybody here has done this to try to hurt anybody in this room, whether it be the oil companies, lawyers, or local residents. That was never our intent. I do not believe that on anybody's behalf in this room. But I do see that there's several things that I've had to consider. And one of them is, right now, when we voted on this, all prices were close to $100 a barrel. Right now, as of this morning, they're about $77 a barrel. So there's some things that we have to look at. I've got a letter sitting here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's basically from Hercules Drilling Offshore, saying that it's a letter to Mr. Nungesser saying that they're looking at laying off approximately 324 employees. Okay, now, is this a scare tactic? Maybe so. I don't know. But it's real to the people that live and work in these oil fields. So that's why I'm doing this today. I'm giving them an opportunity to get up and speak and say what they have to say. I don't think anybody's trying to do something dirty politic-wise. I've heard some in the back, but I don't believe the lawyers on either side, the people you hear from today, or the oil companies, maybe have had their day in court or before this council, and that's what I'm intending to do today, and that is merely what I'm intending to do. Also, I will repeat again that this can come back for, if it gets dropped today, somebody can file a new lawsuit again in a week, a month, or a year. They can also bring this back up if it gets defeated today. This is not my intent to lock this lawsuit in. I mean, I've really been portrayed as some evil, nefarious fellow for trying to bring this up today. Now it's some new trickery on my part. Well, I'll show you that it's not. Because if this is defeated today, it can be brought back up again in a short period of time, as the attorneys explained.
Thank you, Mr. Marinovich. Wait a minute. Any other questions from the table?
I have a question.
Okay, Ms. Cooper.
I have one question. Why today? Why 2 weeks after the last election? Why not 3 months ago? Or would you consider deferring this until the next council meeting, the December council meeting? Wow. So the other council members can have a chance to talk to some of these business people that are in District 9 and view their concerns, and maybe it has a chance of this lawsuit being squashed.
I made the calls this week to everyone that I could possibly call. I probably made between 300 and 400 calls this week. I have many people sitting in the room today that wish to express their opinions, and there's no reason to sit back and hold on this. And nobody else, including yourself, brought this up 6 months ago.
Well, you know what? To be honest with you, we filed the lawsuit 1 year ago. We filed the lawsuit a year ago. About 3 months ago, we had executive session with the attorneys that briefed us on this lawsuit. Of course, you can't say what went on in there because it's confidential. Other than that, I have never had a meeting with the attorneys that were carrying on, that were doing the lawsuit for this council. I did my own investigating. I educated myself about things, the lawsuit, and I changed my mind. I'm against the lawsuit, okay, because I feel it's going to hurt my district. But that's how I feel. That doesn't mean, and I've been talking to business owners, that doesn't mean the other 7 or 8 council members should not be given the opportunity to meet face-to-face with these business owners. And I'm going to be very honest with you, Byron. I think that you do have an ulterior motive to put it today. And I'm not, that's why I didn't support the suspension of rules. Because you had ample time. Just 3 weeks ago, you were gung-ho against this lawsuit. Now, okay, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to shut up before I
Thank you, Ms. Cooper. No, Byron, let's keep it cool here. Let's. Go ahead, Byron. Keep it brief, please.
Ms. Marler, we know you're backing somebody else for candidate. It's okay. You have a right to do so. And everybody's had an opportunity for the past year and a half to do whatever they wanted with this. And none of us have. That's not your fault or my fault. It is what it is. But now here, not just election results, but when I had people come to the polls and say, I voted for you, but they have that much concern about this. And you finally come to a realization these people are that scared, whether it's a perceived threat or a real threat. And I've done some investigation. And I've seen that they are actually twisting some arms in this room. Then I have to act on that. And this is simply about me being a representative of the people and doing this. This is not about being reelected or not. At this point, I'm really beyond that. I feel I have a responsibility to do this, just as you feel like in the past couple of weeks, maybe you've changed your mind or you have different thoughts on it, and that's why I'm doing this today.
Okay. Thank you, Byron. Anyone else from the table? Okay. Okay. Dr. Gould?
Yeah, I'd like to just make a comment as food for thought for everyone here. In the last few minutes, a lot has been said as to the whys and wherefores of the purpose behind trying to have this lawsuit dropped. And there's also been a lot of talk about why it was initially done. I'm the one who brought this to the table, and I brought it to the table for one reason and one reason alone, and that was to validate our permit process. If you look at what we do on a monthly, bi-monthly basis, we have to decide on whether or not a person or company applying for a permit has met all of the requirements that are necessary for us to issue that permit. There are, I think the last number I got was 68 companies that our legal counsel feels did not meet the requirements of the permit they were granted. Whether they did or not is an issue that needs to be resolved. Our permit process also follows some of the state permit process with the Coastal Zone Management Act. So if we decide that to drop this lawsuit, then it could be perceived by many that we have allowed companies to violate the conditions of their permit and just turned our back on it because of whatever pressure and whatever you want to call it. To me, the appropriate thing to do, and again in hindsight, I'll say this now, would have been to get everyone to come to the table, to get those companies who our legal counsel feels that have not fulfilled the requirements of their permit, sit at the table and find out the true facts from both parties and come up with some type of negotiated settlement. If all permit requirements were met, then that's it. It's over. If permit requirements were not met, for instance, a pit of hazardous waste that if there was a pit out there left in the marsh, eventually it's going to sink and go away, but the pit was still there. Well, if that comes out in the discussion at the table, I think we have a serious problem that needs to be addressed, as many other problems. So in regards to how this council votes, we need to remove ourselves from a political agenda or a he said, she said, because the issue we need to decide is, do we feel our permit process is valid enough that if there's a permit violation, that we need to take action to address that violation? And I think that's what, and we're going to hear a lot of comments, and listen, I think that if everyone has done in their heart what they think is the right thing to do, and I think in everyone's heart they have a position on this that they truly believe. So after we listen to everyone, I'm sure we're going to be taking a vote, and I would just like to have in the back of your mind that the true issue here is the validation of our permit process. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Gould. Excuse me. Before I open the floor for comments, we'll separate him as people who are supporting people who are against the lawsuit will speak first. People who are for the lawsuit will speak second. Remember council rules, you'll get 5 minutes to speak. We will hear from everyone who wants to come to the microphone. We ask that you keep it to your 5-minute period, and there will not be going back and forth. So we'll let the people who are against the lawsuit speak first. You have 5 minutes. You may approach the podium. Please state your name and your address for the record.
My name's Nick Conkey. I live at 37213 Highway 11, Beerus, Louisiana. I just want a little clarification. I think the attorney said that if it was voted on today and voted to continue with the lawsuit, that it could be voted on again by the next council. Does it need to be reworded and a significant change made? I just want clarification on that.
Let me see if I can get a clarification.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good question.
Mr. Rathburn, can you give us an answer?
The answer is no. It does not need to be reworded. It could literally quote this same one and be it could come up again for a vote with the new council.
Thank you. I'm sure it will. The next thing I'd like to say is, Dr. Gouy, I appreciate what you said about the validity of the permitting process, and that's the key issue here. My question to the council is, if that is the key issue, today y'all issued some permits. Is it not the same system, the same reporting system that has been in place when these violations have supposedly occurred? Are we not doing the same exact self-reporting and the same exact process for issuing these permits that we are suing for? And today we're issuing more. Nothing has changed. So if it really were about issuing the permits and the validity of the process, don't you think that should be changed first or addressed first before you just go sue a whole bunch of companies that provide jobs to the local community?
You asking me? Yeah, that's a good point. I think that the process itself is what it is. If there are flaws in the process, then I think those flaws ought to be addressed and changed. What we did today was follow the same process. And if those companies do not follow the process, then they fall, to me, they fall in the same category as any past permittee who did not follow the process.
So what has changed? You say it is what it is, but it is what it is because you haven't changed it. And if that's the issue, I think a change should be made instead of suing oil companies. I guess, going back after the fact, it'll be settled in court, I'm sure, who actually violated what. But just the process, if what you say is true, it's the process. Nothing has changed, and y'all haven't tried to.
To my knowledge, the process of approving a permit has not changed. I cannot speak, because I don't know, as to the follow-up, as to whether or not the conditions were met. In my experience is you find out about that when someone raises a red flag and says, go check XYZ area. They were supposed to put up a fence and they didn't do it. And then the administration would have to address that. That's really the only answer I can give you is the process is, I think, the same process. The follow-up, I don't think there's any change in the follow-up. I really don't. I think when someone says, hey, there's a problem over here, it's investigated to find out whether that
Well, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And if the whole issue is our coast and coastal erosion and cleaning up messes, if that's the issue, we should probably try to change that. And so and it shouldn't be brought to our attention by lawyers that specialize in these kind of lawsuits. It should be internal. That's all I have to say. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Anyone else would like to speak against the lawsuit?
My name's Eddie Derwin, 30028 Highway 23, Home Place, Louisiana. I'm a lifelong resident of this parish. I worked for Chevron for 30 years, and I can tell you that most of the companies that I know, through people that work for these other companies, care for the environment. I need to know who polices the permits, who watches over the permits when they issue to find out if there's a flaw. Do we have a process that y'all have to police these permits?
Not that I know of in place, Mr. Dunn.
So how do you know that this was caused solely by an oil company? Or how do you know that the permit was violated?
Don't have an answer.
Well, why don't we sue the Corps of Engineers, too, for building levees for not letting the river go into the marsh? You know, I don't see anybody complaining 30 years ago when money was good, everybody had a job that was related to oil. Nobody was complaining. All of a sudden now we're complaining. Because of the free money, BP, that was a bad thing. But now people see that the money that flows through the oil companies, they want to get their hands on it. But that's the lifeblood of this state, and has been for such a long time. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Darren. Anyone else would like to speak? I'm now going to ask the people who are for the lawsuit would come to the mic if they'd like to speak. Anyone? Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, Warren Lawrence, Middle Grove. I just make a comment, and it's hard to put people in category you're for or against. I think it goes back to the permitting process. And the only way we're going to know if that permitting process is good, bad, or indifferent is actually go to court. And let the judge decide. You know, if there was something that we neglected in doing in filing up the permits, it's self-reporting. If they reported they completed a project, they abandoned this line for someone to come up here and say nobody ever complained before. Well, I'll guarantee you I complained before about oil well canals that were cut, never maintained, the dams weren't maintained, and I've seen the marshes deteriorate completely away and my camp went underwater. But I'm just saying is that if it is the permit process, because I agree the permit process does not work. You got borrow pits all over here, and y'all don't even administer the process of the permits. I know you're going to tell me I'm off the agenda, but it's on the permits. And if you don't enforce the permit on a borrow pit, then you're allowed to let them do what they want. That's what happened with, and you know, whether it's just the oil companies or with Freeport Sulphur also, we've seen permits issued. There was an agreement, just like the ones that's issued today. And if they agreed to the permit to restore or do whatever they had to do and didn't do it, and they reported that they did, let the judge decide. It should not be placed on because you're afraid that they're going to pull out, that they're allowed to violate their permits. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Danny DeMall, Pointe, Hache. My question is this. If you have property and you lease it to someone to work on that property, would you not want your property back the way it was before they went on it? The oil company came onto these properties, dug all kind of canals to make it easy for them to make more money. Now that they have made their money, the price of a barrel is down now. It's not our problem. You know, the problem is our property has been damaged. Plaquemines Parish, state of Louisiana, and the people that damaged it was the oil companies. So if you know who damaged it, you know who should fix it.
Thank you, Mr. DeMoe. Anyone else? Well, open the machine. Let me clarify, Byron. A vote yes would be a vote to dismiss the lawsuit. A vote no would be to carry on with the lawsuit. Correct. Okay, gentlemen, the machine is open. On the suspension, I'm sorry, on the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, I'll be present and not voting due to a conflict that I work for Chevron Oil Company.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Is PB? He left? Okay. And the resolution fails with 4 no votes from District 2, District 3, District 4, and District 5.
Mr. Chair, if allowed, I'd like to move to item 5, introductions, please.
We'll move back to item 5. Go ahead.
Yes.
Dr. Gui.
Resolution to authorize the law firm of Hache, Summits, Parasola, and Taylor, LLC, to pursue on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish government alternative negotiation methods, including but not limited to the request of settlement offers and mediation pursuant to the legal action currently pending under the Coastal Zone Management Act, pursuant to ordinance number 13210, and in pursuit of resolution of these matters in such form favorable and acceptable to the Plaquemines Parish Council and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. We'll now move to item 6E. Barbara, 6E. I'm sorry. I apologize. 6E is wrong. Which one was Charlie's? I'm sorry. Move to 6AA.
An ordinance to amend the 2014 manpower table in criminal court fund personnel services line items and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer next for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. This is something that I think Mr. Charlie Balley could speak on. Mr. Balley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and council members. This is a matter actually requested by the Finance Department. The criminal court fund money, we've decided to use $25,000 to pay an employee of mine part of that person's salary, basically half that does the accounting work for the criminal court fund, and we've submitted the rules of that as we submit a motion signed by one or two judges. We basically use a form that has both judges required, and they sign it now, and it's signed. And so Finance Department requested, because of the Manpower Act that y'all have, the ordinance that y'all work under, that they wanted to have it passed by you guys as well, so when they audited to see why they pay $25,000 out of the criminal court fund money to an employee's salary like this, that there's the backing of an ordinance to do so from you guys. So it sounds like it's, from what I understand from finance, Tommy, Sorpaz, and Lori, it's a perfunctory or a requirement for the mechanics of it to get it done. It's not a raise for this person. That monies would be used to replace and do other things.
Thank you, Mr. Balley. Any questions from the table?
Yes.
You have a question, Mr.
Sure.
Oh.
Mr. Balley, I don't know if I caught all of it, but the money that you're requesting in the legislation, that's to provide money for someone's salary?
Part of someone's salary, yes, sir. Approximately half, I would say. I think that's what it is. Ms. Lorene Uritich is an accountant in my office, also purchasing agent, many things she does.
Yeah, the name is not important, but was this, so is this an increase to her salary?
No, it's not. I think all the employees will probably have a 3% at the end of the year type thing like parish employees, staff people get. But this is not designed to do any kind of increase at all.
So is this supplemental pay? Is this?
No. We use money from the criminal court fund to pay part of a salary of an employee in my office, just as the judges have an employee in their office paid through the same process who runs a lot of the criminal court program as well as administration for the judges. She does that, and that person's salary is paid 100%, as I understand, through the criminal court fund. And so it's really to catch up with that, so to speak. This is someone else that does some of the work involving the criminal court monies, and so it's to use some of those monies to pay part of that person's salary.
So was this budgeted at the beginning of the year? I'm trying to understand the increase. You're saying it's not an increase, right? Then why are you coming before us? Is it money that was due the individual anyway? It's just that it has to go through this process?
The monies that had been paid to this person, or is being paid actually as of now like this, is through the general fund of my office. It will use $25,000 from the criminal court fund to pay that portion of their salary, and so it will not be an increase to that person. It's using criminal court fund money. Basically, criminal court is monies derived from fines. 76% of all fines paid goes into the criminal court fund. 12% goes to the sheriff's office for its operation, and 12% to the DA's office. 76% goes into the criminal court fund. Every year is always like that. Monies are paid out of the criminal court fund on my motion and on an order of a judge, or sometimes we get both judges, as we have been doing. And that's how monies are paid out of the criminal court fund for interpreters, for people in prison, for experts, for DNA testing, for all these kinds of things, many things. We just paid for security systems that we needed in the courtroom, a new sound system that we needed, that y'all, I think, had benefit of, that we use at the F. Edward Hebert site. That's been paid through the criminal court fund because it's something needed for criminal justice to have a better sound system in our courtroom. And so we do those kind of things. So that's what this is about, is to pay a portion of a person's salary that does work for the criminal court fund, to pay it through the criminal court fund as opposed to all of it being paid outside of the criminal court fund. That's the purpose of it.
Okay, and yet you had the entire salary funded through the government, right?
Yes.
And so where does that funding go
Well,
now?
let me just say, not entire salary. There's other dollars that can come by way of grants we get sometimes, or various things we get money from. It doesn't all come from the council.
Okay, but the portion that comes from the council for salary, what you're saying now is that instead of using what we budgeted for salaries, we want to use this pool of money over here. Is that correct?
Yes, for a portion. For that, Mr. Burger, yeah, that $25,000, which is, as I understand, approximately half. I don't have it exactly. I think it's slightly under that, but it's about half.
Couldn't the fund that you're getting from the criminal court be used for other things involving involving the court?
It could be used for many things. Anything in the area of criminal justice, or actually in the area of that would be the statement. Anything in the area.
Excuse me. The part I'm trying to understand is, what is it? What's the purpose of shifting the money from, if it's designated for salaries, you're shifting it to something else, right?
We just
trying to understand that purpose.
We just had to move. We had to move out of our building, and some of the cost of that is paid by the council, I believe, out of my budget. We never spend our budget. We're always under. We're very, very frugal in everything that we do, and we always have money surplus, so we have to use some of those dollars this year if I move. The council's paying some of those dollars as well. The building we moved into was painted, a number of things we had to do, because the building we're in was basic with mold and termite, many, many problems. So we just moved. My staff and trustees did the painting, did the labor work, all those kind of things. We didn't hire painters. We didn't do anything. We didn't hire movers. We moved.
Hang on. Mr. Chairman, I call a point of order.
Hold on. Okay, Mr. Turner, what do you have?
You have everybody talking and creating a distraction. I'd like for, if the council isn't willing to respect me, at least respect the man at the podium. There needs to be silence, or take the conversation elsewhere.
Okay. Go ahead.
So anyway, basically, like I said, we have some dollars that have been used this year as well for moving from one building to the other. We've just about completed.
Very good. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Anyone else from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6AA. And the ordinance is granted 8-0. Wait. No, he didn't vote. He didn't vote. Mr. Turner's here. Mr. Turner's here.
I'm sorry.
Okay. No, it's right. It's right. That's Michelle. Kim can't count. We move to item 6A1.
That's going to be deferred.
6A1 was deferred at Mr. Griffin's request. We move to item 6A2. Mr. Turner. Give Ms. Barber to read it. Ms. Barber, would you read it?
An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference and which is paraph thereto, with reference to application number ZMP-2014-111, dated March 26, 2014.
You offer, Mr. Turner? I ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Turner?
I'd like to have Mr. Mitra come to the podium and just briefly explain to the audience what we're voting on.
This is a lot.
Ms. Mitra, just state your name for the record.
Amitra, Planning and Zoning Superintendent.
Thank you.
This is a lot that was subdivided in the beginning of the year on St. Thomas Lane. It was zoned R1C, single-family residential, and now the person who bought it wants to rezone it to commercial. Therefore, he wants it to be able to be open to the public, to be able to place any type of structure or business there.
And Ms. Mitra, is that the same property where St. Joseph Church was?
Yes, that was the part where the ancillary building was, like the hall.
Mm-hmm.
The lot before it was half of the church.
Okay. And that property, so the center portion where the building was, that was zone what? Or is zone
That's
what?
going to be the other one, item number 6A3. That one is a double zone right now. That is going to be up for a vote for change to C2 as well.
Okay, and so this one here, is this the front piece of property? Which portion?
This
which one
is
is
the rear lot, the third lot that was created from the subdivision at the beginning of the year. So this one is the rear A3, the third one of that subdivision. It's currently zoned R1C, single-family residential, which you would have to place a residence, a modular, or a stick-built home, or you would have to be a resident from District 6 through 9 who have lost from Katrina to be able to place a mobile home there.
So this piece of property, it's not split as far as a portion of it is commercial as the other legislation is. This one is strictly residential, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the reason I ask that is because we were given the impression, at the last meeting during the hearing that, well, a portion of it is already commercial. This would be making the entire lot commercial. But the lot that we're talking about here is strictly residential.
Yes, sir.
Okay. It's not commercial.
No, sir. The lot before that is also on the agenda. That one is the one that is the split zone.
Okay.
Okay.
Mr.
You good? Or
Mr. Chairman, there are two pieces of legislation. Mr. Mitra, is it three pieces of property? One where the church was, the fellowship hall, and then a third piece of property?
Yes. The first one, A1, is not up for discussion. That is already zone C2. It doesn't have to have any changes. He's not requesting anything. The second piece was where it looks like where the church was at, or actually it should have been where the church was at, and then the third piece was where the hall was at. The piece now for discussion is where the hall was at.
So which one has the partial commercial, the second or the third piece?
The second.
The second.
Yes, sir.
And so the piece we're talking about always was residential and is strictly residential.
Well, what happened was, in the beginning of the year, the property was subdivided. It was one parcel altogether that had a split zone. But then when it became subdivided, that's what created a problem that made just one lot to be R1C, one lot a split zone, C2, and then the first lot, C2.
Well, but rightfully so, because you already had the split zoning in that middle lot. You already had that section carved out that was residential and one piece of it commercial. But the third lot was residential.
It wasn't a lot in the beginning of the year. It was all one parcel.
Okay, but it was divided up and it was made as a lot and residential.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And so to my colleagues, that's all I'm going to have with you, Mr. Mitra, is that there was definitely opposition from the community. We can, on the next legislation, we can debate as to whether or not that one should be commercial or residential, being that it's split, but there shouldn't be any debate over this lot because it's solely residential. It's solely residential. And now, let me tell you what my concern is with both pieces of legislation. That community, one, the way the community was set up for failure. The community was set up with 20-foot section lots. You only do that in certain neighborhoods. You don't create a subdivision with 20-foot section lots, right? But that put 25?
Yes, they have done some 20, yep, I was going to say that.
And were those done for townhouse type? Okay, so what we have, but still what we have here is he had 20-foot lots, and people ended up buying several lots. And then you have, in that area where the church was, you had Mr. Jones on one side, you had houses all around it. And the only thing you have now, you have a vacant lot. As you're looking at where the church was to the right, there's a vacant lot. That's where Mr. Jones' property was. You still have people behind where the church was. All of that's residents, Preston Parker, Norman Phillips, and then to the left, as you're facing the church, you have several residents there, right? My concern is, if you change this commercial, I know, one, you don't know what type of business is going to go there, but I do know that there's a company that's ready to purchase the property. But the equipment they want to put there, what they want to use the property for, is not conducive to a residential community. They want to use it to store all cleaning equipment. You know, I know the individual personally, good guy. You know, and so when you make it commercial, you expose this community to any type of commercial business there. And I don't think it's fair to the community. It's not. Because all around it is residential. Immediately all around it is residential. You've got a marina that has been in existence for some time, a couple of lots over. But other than that, it's all residential. And it's not a good fit. That's what the issue is. Now, some try to make this as though this is personal. That's a weak argument. It's policy. It's what's appropriate for the community. You know, and so think about it. It was acceptable with the church where the building was, that was commercial, but all around it was residential. And then the backside of it is completely residential. Along the highway is commercial. You still can put a business there, but you can't put an oil company. You can't put all field cleaning material there, all response units there, because it doesn't fit. But the minute you expand it to where you have 3 lots, and it's really more than 3 lots, it goes quite a ways back, then you can get a commercial business in there that doesn't fit the community. So I'm saying, don't expand it. You already have the front lot along the highway that's commercial. And we put stores along Highway 23. You have Ace along Highway 23. You have Farak along Highway 23. But the properties behind it, there's no need to extend it that deep into the community, because when you do so, then the sheer size promotes large commercial, which is not conducive to the residential setting. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Dr. Gui?
Yeah. The property if you're looking at the map, the property that's delivered to Hingle subdivision, is that zoned A2?
I'm sorry, you said the
Okay.
Hingle subdivision?
Yeah, on the right-hand side of the page.
Look at St. Thomas Lane.
St. Thomas Lane.
St. Thomas Lane.
I don't know what's north and south. I think that would be north.
Over here?
Oh, I'll tell you what. Hold it like this.
Oh, okay, you're on that now.
I'm sorry.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Property
Those
that's-
are all subdivisions, R1Cs.
The Liverday Hingle subdivision is R1C,
Yes, sir.
because I was looking at the color scheme.
Yes.
The color scheme is A2 down on the bottom of the page, but that's not true. This is R1C. The Liverday Hingle subdivision is R1C.
Yes, on that side of the street. St. Joseph's side of the street is A2. The color scheme, that blue color scheme, all the way to the end where that black line is drawn, that's C2. That's where the C2 stops. On the opposite side is the portion that Mr. Turner was talking about, the Joneses. Though that's all R1C. And then on the opposite side of that is that section that he was also talking about where High Ridge Marina, that's that section, and that is also A2 as well.
But just to keep it confined, if you're looking at St. Thomas Lane
Yes, sir.
by itself,
Yes, sir.
on the page, the right side where it says Liverday Hingle subdivision, that is R1C.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Single family residential.
You good, Dr. Gilly? Okay. Anyone else from the table? Audience? Anyone? Anybody? Machine is open? What? No, he didn't say discuss it? We didn't think?
I did say it was for discussion, but I'd like to move on it, Mr.
So
Chairman.
since we're going to move, I then want to...
Unless you, Mr. Pierce, if you want me to do something.
No, I just want total clarification. Looking at that map again, the ordinance that we're voting on right now only has to do with Lot A3 as to whether to make it, and let's clarify, Lot A3 is right next to a lot that says R1C, correct?
Yes, sir.
And if we vote, we would be changing this R1C to a C2.
Yes, sir.
If I might cut in, Mr. Mitra, this is the middle lot we're talking about, Anthony? Or are we talking about the third lot?
No, we're talking about the third lot right now.
The last lot, the furthest
last
from the
lot.
highway.
This one here.
Okay. I just might mention that I have a letter here from a lady by the name of Shannon Williams. It says she lives south on family land directly off the Lloyd Lincoln property, and she has no affectation of Mr. Lincoln rezoning the land. That's the only thing I would add to this.
What the hell is that? What does that do?
Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, the lady that doesn't have a problem with Mr. Lincoln, with what he's doing, is the lady who has, she's in a tough situation in that her home, after Katrina, was put up next to the church, and it's about a foot on Mr. Lincoln's property. And so you're asking a lady, the lady, yes, wrote the letter. One, I would say under duress. Two, she was pressured into buying that foot or 3 foot of land from him, making payments. And so this lady here, if it was of her own free will, she wouldn't be moving to make it commercial.
Okay.
I guess the hard thing, and the audience doesn't have benefit of all the maps that we're looking at. The hard thing is that you really have to be looking at the first one and the next ordinance all together to understand what's going on. Because the one that is currently on the table right now, and the next one is actually split in half. It is R1C and C2, correct?
Yes, sir.
By mistake. But the one that's in the back is currently R1C, which is what everything else in the area is, but we would be changing it to C2 as well.
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's correct, Ms. Meach?
That is correct.
Okay. Sir, you want to come up?
Kurt, small.
Okay, I'm sorry. I got a question from Ms. Moore.
I don't see, unless I'm missing it, I don't see any paper from the zoning board meeting of the people that attended that are for it or against it. Is it in
It
here?
is in the packet, yes, ma'am.
Let me look.
There's a letter right before the letters of the adjacent property owners. It's right after the public notice. You'll see a letter from a Mr. Norman Phillips. He's against it, and he stated his reasons why. That was in the very first zoning board meeting I gave for it, and then he couldn't he couldn't come because he had to work, he's a police officer, for the second meeting, but he did state his same opposition.
But don't they have a sign-in sheet that for
Yeah.
y'all zoning board meetings that they're supposed to sign who's for and who's for against, that is in attendance? I don't see that attached to the packet.
It was in here the very first time, let me see.
No, that's a vote sheet. She's talking about a sign, they make a sign-in sheet.
It was in the very first packet. I apologize that it didn't get in this packet. But the only other opposition that was against it was Miss Brenda Himes, and she didn't make it to the second meeting. Yeah, I know I have.
You good, Ms. Moore?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Sir, go ahead.
Yes, my name is Lloyd Lincoln, 30440 Highway 23 in Buras. I just want to correct something Mr. Turner said, that she's interested. That is not correct. I've been working with Ms. Hines. I'm donating the land to her with no charge. She wants to keep, as she says she wants me to pay. I said it doesn't matter. I know the lady is having hard times. We actually went to you a year or so ago, and I was going to give her the land then, but you didn't want to get involved. I don't know what your situation was, but you didn't want to work with either one of us. But I did want to clarify, I am donating that land to the lady, no charge. I'm paying it for her right now. She says she's going to give me only my money back for the lawyer fees, and I showed her them bills, which is going to be less than $1,000. And she says she'll pay when she can. She made one payment out of the last 3 months, 4 months. But there's nothing legally binding me giving her the property. So I want to clarify that. And another thing, everything south of this property is commercial. And everything north of it.
Lloyd? We didn't hear it. Everything south?
Everything south. Everything south of this lot is commercial.
Okay.
Everything north, other than that one residential lot. And one of the owners on that lot that you said that owns Mr. Jones, he's family to that people, and he was at the meeting in favor for me. I think one of the biggest concerns is that I'm going to put a ballroom or something, and that's what the permit process is for. And also the guy that wanting to buy the lot, he strictly wants to store boats there, boats and assortment pads. There will be no type of cleaning there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lincoln.
Mr. Chairman, on the just maybe a couple of things. One, I just repeated what the lady had passed on to me, that she was paying, that she was purchasing it. And as Mr. Lincoln just stated about storing response boats there, vessels there, and spill and booms there, that's all spill cleanup equipment. And what I'm getting at is, the size restricts what you're able to do. You know. Now, I was correct in what I was stating as far as the type of business that they're looking to put there. And once it's granted, there's nothing that stops it from expanding. So if they're going to be storing boats there, cleaning vessels there, maybe containers with booms, there's no telling what else they're going to store there. Now, I can tell you, the individuals who are involved, right, good people. That's not the problem. Let's not make this about the individuals. It's about whether or not it fits in the community. If you expand the commercial size, then you can expand the type of business that goes in it. And I'm saying let's not expand it. At least, this lot right here, and then the next lot we can debate. I'm going to ask we don't expand the next one either. The front piece is already commercial. It's already commercial. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else have any questions? All right, the machine is open. Huh? Okay, let me clarify. A vote yes, Ms. Amitra, will switch it from R1C to C2, correct?
Yes.
This legislation right here.
Yes, sir.
Just one lot.
Yes, just on that A3 line.
Okay. The change of a yes vote changes it, a no vote does not change it.
Does not change.
Okay.
And I'm asking, we oppose it.
Okay. Machine is open on 6A2.
It didn't go. I did.
Okay. And the ordinance is defeated with the no vote from District 2, District 4, District 5, District 6, and District 9. We'll move to 6A3. Ms. Barber? Yeah, 6A.
An ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference, and which is paraphrased thereto, with reference to application number ZMP-2014-110, dated March 26, 2014.
You offer, Mr. Turner?
I offer.
I'll ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Turner?
Mr. Mitra, and maybe some of my colleagues might be able to help me out with this. What we're looking at, Mr. Mitra, and the concern is distance, and as to how much we allow to be commercial. And so that front property, what's the length, and any idea in relation to well, I guess it's in the map. It should be in the drawing. How deep is that property, and is it really enough property to have a small commercial business there? I think it is, but from your estimate, and maybe even my colleagues, that front lot, is it large enough to have a commercial business there?
Lot A1?
Yes.
The very first one?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
Can you think of businesses on a similar size lot? Let's say the post office in Belchase. I'm thinking a small type commercial business or a store. Is it large enough to accommodate that type of business? And the reason I'm asking that is because Mr. Lincoln made an investment, right? And we don't want to stop him from being able to capitalize on his investment. Now, he purchased it knowing that the front portion was commercial. And so, is that suitable? Is that enough space to actually have a commercial business? Is the second lot required to be commercial, being that's the one that's split? A portion of it is commercial and a portion is residential.
Well, when Mr. Lincoln purchased the lot, it was all one parcel.
Okay.
It was one full parcel.
Hold on, Mr. Mitra. Hold on.
Okay.
Leslie, can you clear the board? Thank you. Okay.
When he first purchased the lot, it was 294 feet, .62 by 112 as one whole parcel. After he purchased it, he subdivided it into the 3 lots, and that's where the confusion came in. But the very first lot, yes, it is big enough to place, like you said, like the post office, even the Ace Hardware that's down the street is big enough to place something like that, or the Oyster House that's on the opposite side.
So, if the property is large enough to, yes.
One thing you also keep in mind, different businesses has different requirements of how many parking spots you have. So to say this is, big enough for a particular business, depends on what type of business is, how many parking spots is going to be required.
And that's exactly why I made that reference.
You got to somewhat keep that in
No,
being so many feet off the highway.
Correct.
you know what I'm saying, you can't have parking, so you're 25 foot off the highway, that it's space, but you can't do nothing with that space
But
too.
that's-
So again,
No,
keep
very
that in
good.
mind.
But that's why I was asking, you know, is it large enough? Right. And what we want to do is we want to restrict the size so that you don't have something, you know, in the middle of all of the houses that doesn't fit. You know, if you have a small business along the highway, if you put up a shirt shop, even small restaurant, something, you know, just roadside business, Cajun Kitchen, she's saying even Ace, all of that would fit there. So it's saying that what that tells me is that you have a large enough piece to be able to operate a business. And so if that piece is large enough to operate a business and the second piece is split, I'm saying don't expand it. That's what the argument is. Don't expand it.
Okay. Any other questions from the table? Oh, hold on. Go ahead, Byron.
Okay, we on the middle lot, right, Burkhart? Yes. Okay. Or do we normally split lots in halves without subdividing them? That's not normal, is it not?
No, sir.
So probably at this point, whether you stand, you know, I feel let the man be commercial, or if you stand with Mr. Turner and say it should be residential, should we not correct that one way or the other anyway?
Yes, sir, it should be corrected.
Okay.
And so let me ask you this. Making it all residential from that line back would be correcting it.
That would be a correction.
Or making it all commercial would be a correction.
Yes, sir.
Either way would correct
Right,
it. You
right.
would
Yes,
remedy the situation.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So then the question is, right, long-term use. And the question is, what fits the community? If you have houses, if you're looking at the Liberty property, remember, just think of Mr. Jones, that gives you a picture. The brick house was on the right. Miss Ingraham was right behind it. And then on the left-hand side, as you're facing the property, that Mr. Lincoln is saying all of that's commercial, but all of those are houses. You don't have any business there. Those are all, you have trailers, you have nice clean lots there. Thanks for the parish and Mr. Lott for putting in the proper drainage there so that they can maintain it. You know, but that area is nice. And so I'm saying let's not expand it. You have the front piece that's commercial. If it's large enough to have an Ace, if it's large enough to have an Ace Hardware, right, then it's a large enough lot. If you expand it, then you expose the community to the possibility of something that doesn't fit. And that's why I'm requesting that we don't expand it. He's able to sell it as a business. But I'm saying don't expand it. You have enough room to have a commercial roadside business.
Mr. Edgecombe?
Mr. Chair, just below that property, Ms. Mitri, isn't there a welding shop right there? A welding company?
Actually, that's a at-home business, so he's operating out of a portion of his garage, his shed. It's not an actual business.
He has a sign up by the road dictating what kind of business he does.
Yeah, I know there's a sign there, but it's at home, a home occupation. It's not a
So I can have a
full-blown
business out of my home, and
Yes.
it can be as big as I want it to be.
Oh, I don't know the size of the business. I don't go out and do that. That's not my part.
How is it zoned right there, ma'am?
A2. The front portion is C2, but the rear, and that's another. This
Well,
is an
it's the same-
issue. This is
Right,
an
this
issue that
person has a
goes
commercial business right there.
along all over the parish of the split zonings, where it's C2, A2, R1C. It's not just this portion, but he does have a home occupation in the rear part of his lot.
So, Mr. Chairman, the portion that we're talking about, let's go with Mr. Edgecombe's logic that that's a business. Let's say that's a business. Then we're not arguing that point. And even though it's a trailer that they're living in, right, and in this parking area, he does some welding when people, it's just like a shady mechanic doing some repairs in his yard. But right next to it is another trailer. That's not the question. The piece is expanding it. And so let's say that's commercial. No problem. I'm saying the front piece is not a problem. It's only as we expand it. That's all. That's what we're arguing over. The expansion. I'm saying don't expand it.
Okay. Any other questions from the table? Audience? Mr. Lincoln, you can come up.
Again, when I purchased the property, I thought it was all commercial. I realized that the first 200 feet was only commercial. the parish admits that they messed up when I re-subdivided it. And when I went to, someone wanted to put a trailer there, and he was not a Port Safford resident. So under them circumstances, well, when a guy wants to put a trailer there, I was under the impression it was commercial. He couldn't, because she informed me, or the permit department said it's a split lot. What do I need to do to correct it? And they said, go get it rezoned. It cost me $1,200 to even fool with that middle lot, just to make it clear where it could be sold. I figured for my $1,200, I'd go ahead and just make the third lot too, because I could have sold all 3 lots as residential, but we had this problem. Okay. And well, 3 different people already wanted a home, but I can't do nothing with the last 2. So that's my whole purpose, and I just wanted to explain I wanted something for my money.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lincoln.
Mr. Chairman, it's not due to it being a split lot that he couldn't put a trailer there. He couldn't put a trailer there because of the ordinance that was on the table. And the ordinance was because some of those areas you could only go with a home. After Katrina, there was an exception on the southern end that you could go with a mobile home if you lived there before, or if you were an actual owner. So that's what the issue was. It had nothing to do with the split zoning. Is that correct, Mr. Mitri? It was the ordinance, right?
That is correct.
Right.
Okay. We're moving on.
One more question. As you make your final decision, somewhat think about 154 foot. Most of your average lots are normally 120 foot deep, 65, 75 foot wide, 120 foot, 140 foot deep. When you build a metal building or build a commercial building, you're probably averaging maybe 75 foot in depth to 100 foot in depth. So when you do consider that, and then you have 25 foot for parking for cars to come in and out in your front section, and if you have a post office or Ace Hardware, like you were saying, sometimes you have 18-wheelers or large trucks that come in, load and unload. So if you're going to use your backyard, your back section, for them to unload and have a loading ramp, then at 154 foot, you are kind of shallow. So just when you thinking about all that, just kind of somewhat keep all that in consideration of a commercial building with 150 foot deep compared to a 40 foot trailer with another 30 foot truck that's pulling it, trying to maneuver in and out. So just somewhat keep that in mind when you're making
and imagine that being in the midst of all the homes. That's what the issue is.
Okay. Thank you. Any more questions? All right, Ms. Mitra, let's clarify this. We're voting to change it
To C2.
to C2
Yes,
from
sir.
R1C.
To a split zone of C2 and R1C.
Okay, this portion
So a
right.
vote yes will change the whole lot to C2.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. The machine is open on 6A3. They cleared the board on it. All right. Huh? What?
If we vote for it, it's to make the whole lot commercial.
Yes.
And the vote against is to make it, keep it residential, or keep it split.
Keep it split.
Clear the, you want to clear the board, Ms. Leslie? Okay. Okay.
That's correct.
Mr. Mitra, is that correct statement?
That is a correct statement. They did not make any recommendation that if it was going to be changed to C2, if it failed to make it R1C. There was no recommendation saying that if the board denies it, then it would change it to an all residential lot.
But the answer to the question is if we vote yes, it changes that split lot to C2, and if it's a no vote, it leaves it as a split lot.
Yes, it will.
All right.
Unless you all make a
No,
recommendation.
that doesn't do that today. That's not for today.
I'm just trying to let y'all help me out.
The vote today, if you vote yes, makes it all commercial. If you
Yes.
vote no,
No.
it leaves it split.
Yes, it will.
Okay. The machine is open on 6A3. And the ordinance is granted 7-1 with a no vote from District 6. Okay, I need to. Let's move to 6GG.
An ordinance to amend the 2014 Solid Waste Fund operating expenditure budget, Solid Waste Disposal District 1 Department line item, vehicles-light trucks and vans, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Burris, this the other Mr. Burris, Mr. Randy Bear. This is just a transfer to get a light truck. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I promise this is the last one before the council. But yeah, this is the same thing we've done before. We have some leftover monies in the operating budget,
To the capital.
and this is to buy a vehicle for solid waste. Mr. Roussel's here if you have any questions.
Okay. Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open on 6GG. And the ordinance is granted 7-0. All right. Who needs 6? Okay. All right. We will move to 6Z. Ms. Barber, 6Z. Okay, yeah, okay.
An ordinance
Z as
to
in
amend the
zebra.
5-year capital improvements plan for the upgrade Belle Chase Water Treatment Plant project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer with changes, and I'm passing out the changes now. Mr. Turner? Oh, okay. Here you go. Here's the changes to 6Z. I'm going to go over them with you. On line 6, in the blank, fill in $700,000. And in line 12, fill in the blank $700,000. With those changes, I'll offer. Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Other Mr. Burris, can you give us a...
This is an additional appropriation. This is related to the one log removal, the UV system that's been before the council several times. The original estimate was based on the engineer's estimate. The bids came back significantly over that amount. I've asked engineers to go back to the drawing board to see what was necessary and what, if anything, we could remove from that project, and they're here today to speak and kind of explain why I'm back before you again asking for additional monies. I also have ST here again to also explain why it's necessary that this project move forward because of the DHH regulations.
How you doing? State your name, please.
Yeah, Chris Nadishin with Kyle Associates. We had estimated, and what we tried to do is we tried to fit in a couple of other things that were needed at the water plant as well. The bids came over. We went back, reevaluated what was in the specs and the plans, and removed. What happened in a sense was the electrical components. Apparently, the electrical contractors weren't very hungry. So that is what basically put it over the bid. So we removed some of the transfer pumps and going to make do with the transfer pumps that we currently have at the plant, as well as some of the other items to reduce the electrical components to it.
So this is just to upgrade this one plant here?
This is to upgrade the Belle Chase treatment plant to accommodate the one log removal that's required by DHH, and that needs to be in place by December 15th of 2015.
Okay. Any questions from the table? Audience? Mr. Henry.
Henry, could you tell us the time frame on this? on this project? Could you tell us the time frame?
The project is ready to go out for rebid. It was bid, and the bids were rejected because it had come over the budget amount, and it's ready to go back out for bid.
What's the completion time frame?
If the construction contract is awarded, it is going to be completed by 2015, September 30th of 2015, which is with the DHH requirement. The one log removal has to be done by 2015.
Right. Mr. Russo?
I got a question now that it's going out for rebid. I thought this was for construction to accept a bid, but now, how much of this is for engineering fees on the project?
Mr. Beers, do we know?
The existing engineering fees for the total project, this is the design of Phase 1. Now it's broken up into Phase 1A and Phase 1B. The total figure is $603,000 and 750 cents. Come up and explain it.
$603,000 on engineering?
No, none of this monies is for any engineering fees. Engineering fees are already done. The engineering is already done. This is to cover the construction.
Right. No, this money is to cover strictly the construction costs. The engineering fees have already been encumbered with previous appropriations.
So the clarification I'm kind of getting, so the total engineering fee on this project was $603,000, and now we're going back and rebidding the project.
Right. The engineering fees aren't changing. They're the $603,000, but correct. We're going back to rebid because the original bids came in substantially over what we had originally budgeted.
And what was the original estimate on construction?
The original estimate on construction was $2.5 million. I'm sorry, $2.5 million, and the bids came in at 3.8.
Thank you.
Thank you, Benny. Any more questions? The machine is open on 6Z. And the ordinance is granted 7-0. All right, we'll move back to 684, Ms. Cooper. 684 is deferred. And 685 is deferred. Mr. Marinovich, you're moving 686. Oh, that's the same. That's the same. That's withdrawn. So it's withdrawn. With 6A6 and 6A7 are withdrawn. Dr. Gui, 6B?
No, it's going to fall off.
Let it get deferred?
I'll reintroduce it.
All right. 6B is deferred.
6C, Mr. Griffin asked me to move on that for him.
Which one?
6C.
Okay, all right. 6B is deferred. We will move to 6C.
An ordinance to amend the Boat Harbors and Shipyards Fund 2014 operating expenditure budget, Pointe la Hache Boat Harbor Department, line items and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'm going to offer on behalf of Mr. Griffin.
Next for a second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe.
And I'll defer to Mr. Lott.
Mr. Lott?
Yes, sir. We having some DEQ issues with our garbage containers in our harbors due to the high rise and falling tides. The bottoms of the containers rust out, and we need to replace them. So we have monies in our operational. We need to move to our capital to purchase some new trash containers for our harbors.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lott. Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open on 6C. And the ordinance is granted 8-0. 6D and 6E are both deferred. 6F will be deferred. And 6G is deferred. Six H, Mr. Edgecombe. 6H is deferred.
Move on I.
Move on I. Ms. Marlowe?
An ordinance to amend the five-year capital improvements plan by transferring $157,000 to the Repairs District 2, Kenneth and Kimball Streets project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'm going to offer with changes. In the preamble, on the first line, we're going to strike out transfer, and we're going to be appropriating. On line 2, we're scratching out $157,000. We're going to put in $235,500. After Kenneth, we're going to add the word drive, scratch out and, put a comma, Kimball Street. Then we're going to add in and Windsor Drive. After the first whereas, striking out transfer.
Wait, hold on.
Okay.
Apologize, Mr. Hinckley. Can you change the preamble like that? That's a significant change when you transfer to appropriate, so you can't do that.
Scratch this. I defer.
I apologize.
Thank you, Mr. Rathburn.
6I is deferred.
I'm going to go back to introduction.
I will. Okay, I will. 6I is deferred. 6J is withdrawn. 6K, L, and M are all deferred. Yep, 6K, L, and M are deferred. N, Mr. Turner, moving forward.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to bring it up just for a discussion.
Okay. Ms.
Just
Barber?
for discussion, and discussion is going to be very brief.
Discussion only?
Discussion only. Very, very brief.
Okay.
A resolution stating Plaquemines Parish Council's endorsement of NOLA Oil Terminal LLC to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana Enterprise Zone Program.
You're offering for discussion only, Mr. Turner?
For discussion only, Mr. Chairman.
I'll second it. Go ahead, Mr. Turner.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to be asking that we defer it, but I wanted us to have just a little discussion on it just to help you understand why. This case is in litigation right now. There's litigation concerning NOLA Oil Terminal, and my understanding of where the case is, where the suit is, that it's going to be coming up within the next 30 days. And so my concern is, I don't think that we should judge the case for the courts or send any message one way or the other as to whether or not whether we in favor or oppose or offering any special rights or privileges. And in so doing, if you offer special privileges, then in essence you're saying that you're in support of it. And you know the community, many in the community are in opposition, not all, but there are some, and it's in the courts. And so I'm saying, let's not prejudge. Let's let the courts decide. We have a certain length of time on the enterprise zone, and we have not expired that time. I believe we have until the next meeting in order to approve it. We're not able to allow it to go beyond the next meeting. And so because of that, I'm going to defer it and ask that we don't make a ruling on it today. Let's not interfere with the courts. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I guess Mr. Rathburn? Mr. Rath? Okay. I have a question on this enterprise zone. If we were to ever vote on this, would it hurt us in the lawsuit either way?
Just as a broad general question?
Yes. I mean, does it make a difference if we voted on this? This is just to apply to be in an enterprise zone.
That's it.
What
It's not impacting the the litigation. I apologize.
Okay. Okay.
They're linked together. They're the same.
They're the exact same thing.
Okay.
What happened was, again, Mr. Marinovich decided to introduce the same legislation so he could control it without me hearing it. But anyway, where we are with it is it's not legally binding, but it's the message that it sends. That's the concern.
Okay.
It's the message that it sends. And there's no reason, because we have time, there's nothing that makes us or requires us to have to act now. So why act now and send the message that, this is, that we're pushing it? Let's not push it. Let's let the courts run its course, and then we act on it. That's all I'm asking. And with that, I defer it.
All righty. 6N has been deferred. 6O, Mr. Edgecombe. Barbara.
A resolution to appoint 4 members whose term has expired and readopt the remaining members of the Coastal Zone Advisory Committee and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Your offer, Mr. Edgecombe?
Yes, sir. I offered. Actually, it's been seconded and read by Mr. Marinovich.
It's been seconded by, okay, seconded by Mr. Marinovich. I'm sorry.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Mr. Edgecombe.
Well, pretty much what it states, needs to reappoint 4 members that are expiring. At the same time, we can go ahead and, I would ask my colleagues to keep the list as it is. I'm going to read off the names and what part of the business they represent. Mike Ferezio, commercial fisherman. Richard Bling Jr., representing the shrimp fishermen. Gerald Cormier, representing the waterways enforcement. Arthur Giles, representing the oil industry. Mr. Mike Mullins, representing the Plaquemines Parish Legal Department. Jeff Edgecombe, representing the Plaquemines Parish Council. Mr. Earl Armstrong, representing the Plaquemines Parish President's Office. Mr. Ed Terrio, representing the Parish Administration. Mr. Peter Vonovich Jr., representing the oyster fishermen. Mr. Kane Mayfield, representing the recreational fishermen. And Mr. Andy Boudreau, representing the private landowners.
Thank you, Mr. Ed. Any questions from the table? Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, I oppose this legislation. I think it's wrong. You have a new council that's going to be seated in 2 months. And this is almost like your midnight appointments. You're locking the new council in until 2016.
It'll be changed then.
So there's no reason for us to act on this legislation when in 2 months you're going to have a whole new council. That council should be deciding on it, not us.
Does this have to be done by the end of the year, Mr. Edgecombe?
Yes, sir.
What happens if it doesn't? They're not voted out.
You can't have any more meetings, sir. I'd like to move forward, please.
Mr. Edgecombe wants to call the vote. Okay, wait a minute. Any other questions from the table?
I'd like
Go ahead, Dr.
an answer. In previous instances where we've had terms of members who have expired, not necessarily this particular group, but it was my understanding that a person continues to serve in that capacity until they're replaced. That's correct. So I think that is something that we ought to all be aware of, is that should the end of the year expire, then those people who are presently there will continue to serve, so there'll be no gap in the board. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Gouy. Audience, go ahead, Jane.
Danny Jamal, Pointe, Hache. I'm looking at all these people that was named. Are any of these people from the East Bank? There's no coastal on the East Bank?
Mr. Mike is.
Mr. Mike who?
Mike Ferezio.
Okay, where does Mr. Ferezio live?
He lives up towards Braithwaite.
So out of all these appointments, there's only one from the East Bank?
Yes, sir.
They
had Mr. He moved to Purville.
Mr. Fox.
Yeah, Mr. Kenneth Fox.
Okay, well, why was he replaced with someone from the East Bank?
Well, he was replaced with Mr. Mike.
So just
from
one?
the East Bank.
So then again, just one from the East
Yes,
Bank?
sir.
Support for the whole parish?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you don't think that's one kind of lopsided?
You got it. Kirk, may I respond?
Go ahead, Byron.
Danny, I'm going to mention to you that there's 11 members of the board. We only have 9 districts in the parish. The East Bank is represented by 1. I don't find us to be very lopsided.
Okay, we're not going to go back and forth. Mr. Henry?
Oh, I think it should be done by the new council. My thing has always been here again, we have these boards and I'm telling it like it is. It shouldn't be Lily White. I'm sorry, but we live in a community where everybody should be represented. I'm tired of this, man. Man, gotta stop this, man. We really gotta take a look and represent all the people, not just a few. Come on, see what you got to say.
Well, Mr. Henry, if I might add, Mr. Chair, right quick, it's kind of hard to fill some of these seats. These.
That's not true.
Sir, yes, it is. We have in the past put people on boards, on committees, and yet they have showed up for the first meeting. You know, this right here, this particular group, it takes about 2.5 to 3 years just to get orientated, the process of getting the permits for the coastal projects that we've been trying to get for the last 12, 13 years.
Well, let me ask you a question. You say it's hard to get people. Have you went into the minority community? Have you been in there? Have you been in there? No. So you don't sit there and tell me that it's hard to get people. Because that is not true, my man. I'm being real with you. It's not true. And you know it. Come on. Look, you got a new council coming in. Let them select it. But when we start doing these boards, let's start including everybody.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Henry. Ms. Cooper, you have a question? Okay. All right. Ms. Audrey?
Audrey Selva. Mr. Lapine, what's the chances of the incoming council amending any of these boards if the representative is not
and I think that's
serving? He is at the liberty of that council person anyway, right? Of the sitting council person. Is that so?
No.
No, this represents user groups. It's not a district thing. But as a council, you can change the name at any time by removing one and replacing it with another. You can do that. Because there may be an instance where somebody just doesn't show up to the meetings.
So with that being said, it would make much more sense to me for to just allow the new council to make the selection.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Cooper.
Audrey, you can change them because when I came in office, they had a commercial fisherman and the shrimp fishermen were represented by people that weren't even in those industries. So we found people that were in those, we worked together and found people that were in those industries to represent the people in those spots. So if you come in and you don't think one of these people should be, or not in that field of business or something, and you have the support, you can change it.
Wait.
I'm done with this, Kurt, one time.
Okay.
Back to Mr. Henry. As far as getting participation, there was somebody with the Waterways Division that was appointed, and I think he showed up for one meeting. That's why, because we need people to come to the meetings where we can vote certain permits and to keep going forward with the coastal restoration projects.
And I'm not against that, but when you involve the whole community, you leave out some people, my man.
I apologize talking to. I caught it. Thank you. Okay. It was in my ear. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Nothing against Mr. Henry, but we want to be treated equal. The only thing I'm saying is if Mr. Gui is right, and none of these people, if the term expires, they serve until replaced, what are we talking about? Let them serve until replaced, and if the new council comes in and wants to replace them, let them do it. I mean, the public's looking at this, and it looks like a ridiculous thing to even be discussing. I mean, let's get down to it and say, leave the new council take care of their business. These people want to stay on in the new council. No, there's no gap. There's no rush to judgment here. I say, ask Mr. Edgecombe, just withdraw it or either defer it and let it go like it is.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Thank you for watching out for me. Mr. Edgecombe, what you want to do? You want to call the vote? Huh?
Yes, sir, she is correct.
Remove a second.
Move
I need to
second.
remove my second, Kurt.
Remove
Gotta make
your
a
second?
correction. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I don't have a line item. Actually, where it says whereas, the second line, December 31st, 2013, change it to 2014.
It should be changed from 2013 to 2014.
Yes, sir.
With those changes you're offering.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Marinovich is seconding. Thank you. Mr. Russo.
Yes. How long have these members been term expired? How long?
There's four members that are going to expire, which is myself, Mr. Pete Vonovich, representing the Ocean
I'm not
Fishermen.
interested in all the names, just how long? A year?
Every 2 years. Every 2 years. yes.
So some of them have been expired a year?
Actually, it's going to expire this year. Yeah.
Nobody's expired right now, right?
No, come December 31st. it will.
Nobody's
Four of them
expired
will
right
be.
now.
Four of them will be.
I think I got it, but I mean, I was just trying to figure out the urgency of the appointments, knowing that the new government comes in on January the 1st. And I can understand the politics of the situation, but I think that will change shortly.
Thank you. Okay. The machine is, you ready, Mr. Edgecombe? The machine is open on 6-0. And the ordinance is granted 6 with a no vote from District 6 and an abstention from District 5. All right, we're going to, Byron, we're going to revert back to the permits. Okay. We'll revert back to the permits. 6A2. I'm sorry, I grabbed the wrong one.
It's 4A2.
Okay. My bad. Janice did that. We'll move to 4A2. W&T Offshore Incorporated, Main Pass Areas, Block 68 and 69, abandoned 2 4-inch pipelines in place. I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Ms. Marinovich. Okay, what was your question, Ms. Marinovich?
The question was how deep, since they're abandoning these pipelines, how deep you have to be. Mr. Michogut was gracious enough to get an answer for me, and it'll be buried 3 foot. It'll be 3 foot below the mud line. I've also read further into the permit last night, and they will be responsible to make sure it's kept at that depth, and this company will be responsible for that.
Okay.
Question is answered.
Are we good?
Yes, sir.
Okay, audience. Well, the machine is open on 482. And permits granted 8-0. It's been off and on. Okay. All right, we'll move to 4A5. Michael A. Manson Sr., 611 Martin Lane, Port Sulphur, install pilings for boathouse with lift and dock. It's been offered by me, second by Mr. Burris. And Mr. Edgecombe will be present, not voting. Mr.
The concern was that we didn't have a review form from the flood control department, and Mr. Ortega did find one and show it to me. I did see it. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions? The machine is open on 684A5. Wait, clear the machine? What's that? You'll be present, not voting. Okay. Now the machine is open on 4A5. You got to vote, guys. And the ordinance is passed 6-0. A permit, I'm sorry. Move to 4A7, Chevron Oronite Chemical LLC, Chevron Oronite Bell Chase, install 20 horizontal soil boring. I offered, and it was seconded by Mr. Burris. Go ahead, Mr. Marinovich.
I spoke to a man by the name of Daniel. I think it's with the company called Conestoga. Had some concerns of what they were doing here. This is actually some cake material. It dates back to 1955. And what they're actually doing, they're not actually going to remove or do anything at this time. They're just going to do the soil borings to see what the quality and quantity of the material is, if it's something that should or could be removed, and that's simply what they're doing, is just taking soil borings only. There'll be no removal of material itself.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Turner, you be present, not voting?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The machine is open on 4A7.
And that's due to a conflict with Chevron.
Okay. And the permit is granted 7-0. All right. 6P, Ms. Cooper? Okay.
An ordinance to appropriate funds to the Fort Jackson Archaeological Scan Project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Ms. Cooper? You offering? With changes or with fill in the blank? Okay. Undesignated, unreserved. The offer. I'll second it. Any questions? Offer is read, Ms. Okay. Any questions from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6P. And it is granted 8-0. 6Q, Ms. Cooper? 6Q is deferred. 6R is withdrawn. Six S is deferred. All right, 6T, Mr. Hinckley.
Go ahead, move on it.
Okay.
Yeah, move.
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan for the Woodland Highway Bridge/Road Expansion Project and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'm going to offer, ask for a second. Second. Okay. We've appropriated the first half of the engineering design on the 2 bridges on Woodland Highway for the future expansion of 4-lane of Woodland. I'm just going to ask the administration to explain the monies here, if you could. Or Scott? I know this is something that has to be done, and it's work in progress right now, but I just need some explanation.
Yeah.
You know.
Mr. Nungesser advises that the state, once we design and have the engineering for the 4-lane bridges, that the project will move forward. The state and DOTD does not fund or design anything to do with the bridges. So once the bridges are designed, we'll move forward with it. But that's, basically the state does not design any bridges.
I'm aware of that. I just need some explaining on the projects.
These projects are finished, and it's leftover monies from the projects, moving it from projects that are already completed.
I just don't want to get in a long, drawn-out discussion on pulling this from this area.
No, that's what I'm saying. It's project money's left over from projects moving into another project.
Like I said, it's a project that does need to be moved forward on. But so.
Thank you, Mr. Go ahead, Mr. Maria.
I have 2 issues with this. Number one, I've asked repeatedly not to remove my money from Lewis Morrow Lane. It's been removed again because the project is not finished, but it's done anyway. My second issue is I'm going to read an email right here that was written to one of the councilmen. On behalf of the administration, I'm requesting an appropriation of $250,000 for the Woodland Highway Bridge widening contract. Basically, it says the 2 bridges will need to be demolished and rebuilt to meet current standards. and I have an issue with this because we don't know how much money it's going to be. You're looking at tens of millions of dollars. And I want everybody to realize what we're voting on here.
Well,
it may be studies, anything else, but how much is this project going to cost for bridges that are already standing? We're going to demolish and build more new bridges in Belle Chase.
Well, when they widen, this is designing a 4-lane bridge.
It says here in the email to you, Mr. Hinckley, that it says the 2 bridges will need to be demolished.
I'll defer. I don't.
Okay. All right. 6T is deferred.
In fact, withdraw it.
Withdrawn. 6T is withdrawn.
Let the new council.
6U. Mr. Hinckley?
What is you? You know, that can be withdrawn too.
6U is withdrawn.
Withdraw V.
V is withdrawn.
Now let's move on W.
W. Ms. Barber?
A resolution conditionally approving a plan of re-subdivision of portion of tract 3-D-1 of Belle Chase Plantation as shown on the Parks of Plaquemines Phase 2 being a re-subdivision of a part of Section B, Belle Chase Plantation, Belle Chase, Louisiana, by Hugh McCurdy III, PLS, dated July 31st, 2014, without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines.
You offer, Mr. Hinckley?
I'm going to offer.
Ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Hinckley?
I've got Mr. Bud McCurdy and Mr. Myers here that's representing the Parks of Plaquemines. It's my understanding this is one of the final phases of the subdivision. Just looking for an improvement to be able to move forward with it when the time comes. Mr. Myers, if you want to come answer any questions. I don't believe there's any issues. There were a couple of issues with engineering, and there was one other, and those have been rectified. Right?
Yeah, engineering and planning.
Can you state your name? I'm sorry.
Actually, it's Matt Filati with Meyer Engineers. Engineering and planning have approved everything. We've gone through Severn and Trent. They've approved all engineering drawings. This is a continuation from the previous 75 acres that was already approved. The subdivision plat was approved 6 months ago, I guess. This is just a process to be able to go to construction within the next 18 months.
Thank you, Mr. Hinckley. Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open on 6W. Ms. Cooper? And the ordinance is granted 7 and 1 abstention from District 6.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, man. X?
Defer X.
6X is deferred. 6Y? We're moving on 6Y.
A resolution authorizing Plaquemines Parish President William Billy Nungesser to execute supplemental agreement number 2 to the existing cooperative endeavor agreement dated February 17, 2014, authorized by resolution number 13-361 adopted on November 14, 2013, for right-of-way acquisition for Peters Road Bridge and extension Phase 2, State Project number H.008068, to provide for a time extension of 12 months without any increase the total cost of the cooperative endeavor agreement, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer, Mr. Burris?
Yes, sir. I'll offer and ask for a second.
Second by Dr. Gouy. Mr. Burris?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Some time ago, the Plaquemines Parish government entered into a CEA with the Jefferson Parish government as it relates to right-of-way acquisition for Phase 2 of the Peters Road bypass. Phase 2, as I think everyone knows, is on the north side of the bridge where Plaquemines and Jefferson meet. The Jefferson Parish Council chose not to go out and hire via contract their own company to do the right-of-way acquisition for them. They instead chose to enter into a CEA with Plaquemines Parish to utilize the company that is doing a right-of-way acquisition for Plaquemines Parish. That agreement is set to expire. They have not completed right-of-way acquisition. Therefore, the Jefferson Parish Council is asking that we extend the CEA in order to allow them to complete the process on their side of this project. And this is at no cost to the Plaquemines Parish government.
Thank you, Mr. Burris. Any questions from the table? Audience? Machine is open on 6Y. And the resolution is granted 8-0. We will move to
Mr. Chairman.
6BB.
A resolution to reject the bid of Oil Land Services, Inc. for mineral lease purposes on Parish Tract Number 14-2 covering parish-owned property located in all of Section 49 and in a portion of Section 35, Township 20 South, Range 29 East, Bastion Bay Field, Buras Levee District, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, estimated to contain approximately 269 acres more or less, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Okay. I'll offer and ask for a second. I'll ask for a second. Motion.
Second.
Keith, second by Mr. Hinckley.
That's fine.
So, no, there's no second on it.
That's fine.
It dies for a lack of second. 6CC. Ms. Barber?
An ordinance to accept the bid of Oil Land Services, Inc. for mineral lease purposes on Parish Tract 14-2 covering parish-owned property located in all of Section 49 and a portion of Section 35, Township 20 South, Range 29 East, Bastion Bay Field, Buras Levee District, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, estimated to contain approximately 269 acres more or less, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second.
I'll second this one.
Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Palazzo, can you help us with this at least?
This is just a mineral lease that was been approved by our mineral lease department. I think it's self-explanatory. Talks about per acre price, which is in range with what we've been receiving. We got a cash payment of a little bit over $76,000, annual rentals of $38,000, and the standard royalties of 25%.
Thank you, Mr. Palazzo. Any questions from the table? Audience?
Mr. Palazzo, what's the length of the lease?
Three years.
3 years. 3 years. That's correct.
I guess I'm gonna ask this question. You know, we've been having lawsuits all over about these leases here. Is there anything in that lease there that's gonna cure that problem? If they all come and just decide to book up and go?
I don't know what you mean by that.
Clean up their mess, in other words.
I mean, if they make a mess, violate the lease, violate the permits, then they're going to be subject to litigation.
But that's where we've been at, right? That's where we at right now. I mean, so since we're doing new leases, is there anything that's going to really solidify this thing, man? That's what I'm asking. So we're going to have lawsuits in the future. That's what I'm asking. You understand what I'm saying?
I don't know how you prevent that. These people are obligated to do what they're supposed to do. If they don't do it, then there's litigation could be involved.
Keep the lawsuit.
Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Lawrence?
I was just asking, this is just a bid on the mineral lease. If they come for a permit, they'd have to come back for that.
Correct.
Yeah, so this...
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lawrence. Okay. The machine is open on 6CC. And the ordinance is granted 8-0.
Yes.
Mr. Turner?
Mr. Chairman, would like to go back to 6N that I deferred, and I just want to withdraw it at this time because the legislation is coming up later under Marinovich.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Turner. 6DD, Ms. Barbara?
A resolution to cancel the December 25th, 2014 regularly scheduled council meeting due to the Christmas holiday and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Self-explanatory, I think. We're canceling the second meeting because it falls actually on Christmas Day, unless somebody wants to have a meeting. Any questions? Ryan wants to have a meeting? Okay. Any questions? The machine is open on the resolution. And the resolution is granted 8-0. Move to 6EE.
An ordinance to amend the General Fund 2014 operating expenditure budget, Flood Control Department, line item equipment, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
I'll offer and ask for a second. Second by Mr. Burris. Mr. Lott, can you take this a minute?
Yes, sir. What we're doing is asking to move $25,000 for equipment in rental and move it to equipment in general, so that way we can have enough to purchase the piece of equipment.
So just a transfer for another truck?
No, not a piece of equipment.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize. All right. Any questions from the table? Audience?
What type of equipment?
Come to the microphone.
It's the money for that a large excavator that shreds trees. It's a tree trimmer.
Oh,
Yeah. For that way we can pull some of the equipment off the levees. That's the A booms, and this here it destroys the trees. It cuts them down.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Machine is open on 6EE. And the ordinance is granted 8-0. 6FF is deferred. We did GG. HH is deferred. I'm sorry. II and JJ are deferred. We'll move to KK. Ms. Marinovich. Go ahead, Ms. Barber.
A resolution stating Plaquemines Parish Council's endorsement of NOLA Oil Terminal LLC to participate in the benefits of the Louisiana Enterprise Zone program.
You offer, Ms. Marinovich?
Yes, sir.
I'll second it. Ms. Marinovich?
Basically for the NOLA Oil Terminal to participate in the benefits of this Louisiana Enterprise Zone program. The requirements whether the Plaquemines Parish Council would agree to participate in the program and to assist the department in evaluating the progress made in any enterprise zone within its jurisdiction.
Okay. Hold on. In the legislation, they got blanks in it. We're going to have to remove.
I'm sorry.
Remove my
Move
second. Ms. Marinovich, can you?
I'm sure that we add for blanks.
Convened
on this 13th day of November.
Just two blanks.
2014.
Okay.
Plaquemines Parish Council. So I'd put those in those blanks. So 13, November 2014, in Plaquemines Parish Council.
Parish Council, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's redundant. It's supposed to be 13.
Okay. With those changes,
yes, sir,
I'll second it. Go ahead now, Mr. Rivet.
Basically what it is for this company to participate in this Enterprise Zone program. They have to have partnership, basically, and have assistance from the Parish Council to participate. And also, it's our requirement to assist the Department of Louisiana Enterprise Zone program in evaluating any progress made in the Enterprise Zone within our jurisdiction.
Thank you, Mr. Marinovich. Any questions from the table?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm going to ask that we oppose this. I think Mr. Warren Lawrence might have used the word earlier, prejudged. And I think it sends the message that we are in support of them moving forward, as opposed to allowing the courts to make the ruling. There's a pending court case. that's supposed to be going to court within the next 30 days, and it's not necessary for us to preempt the court. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Any questions from the table? Audience? The machine is open on 6KK. And the resolution is granted 6 with a no vote from District 6 and abstention from District 9.
Chair, I'd like to go back to introductions if we could, please.
Okay, I'm going to revert back to introductions. Mr. Hinckley?
An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan by appropriating $315,000 to repairs District 2, Kenneth Drive, Kimball Street, Windsor Drive, and Eve Street, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Okay. Anyone else got a? Before I move, I'm gonna move to item 7, new business. Mr. Rathburn, can you make a statement or explanation?
Okay. At the last meeting, the meeting ended due to a lack of quorum, and so we didn't have a formal adjournment. And I'm going to ask that the table move to adjourn. Someone from the table move to adjourn the last meeting because it's.
I'll
right
move to adjourn.
Wait.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Hinckley. Offered by Ms. Marin, second by Mr. Hinckley. The machine is open on adjournment from last, of the last meeting.
That's the last meeting.
But
there's no debate allowed on that motion, by the way.
The machine is open.
Kurt, I'll be present but not voting because I wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
No, ma'am.
And it is granted 6-0 on adjournment from last meeting. We will move to item 6B, public comments regarding Hurricane Isaac. Mr. Turner?
Anybody have anything concerning Hurricane Isaac? Defer.
Defer. We will move to 7C, update and presentation, District 6. Mr. Turner?
None at this time.
Okay, thank you. Move to item 7D, discussion concerning Hurricane Katrina alternate projects. Mr. Turner?
Withdraw.
Withdraw. We'll move to E, discussion regarding council meeting rules. Mr. Turner?
Withdraw.
Withdraw. Thank you. Discussion concerning the parish not maintain blighted property in Braithwaite, more particularly in the Braithwaite Golf Course. Mr. Turner?
We'll defer that one, and maybe we'll take it up a bit earlier next time.
Okay. G, discussion regarding fining people in Braithwaite for not maintaining their properties. Mr. Turner?
We'll defer that one.
Defer. All right. I think H, I, and J are all deferred because Mr. Griffin's not here. 6K, Mr. Marin, discussion of the oil and gas lawsuits.
I believe we coded up that for one day.
Okay, so deferred or withdrawn?
Withdrawn, yes, sir.
Withdrawn. Okay. Before
Mr. Peen,
yes.
if you allow me, I have two just quick announcements I'd like to make.
Okay. Okay.
One, I'd like to announce that the Beers Volunteer Fire Department is planning to hold a car show on Saturday, November the 15th, 2014. It'll be this Saturday. And they're going to use the DODHA site for the car show. We're looking at from sometime early in the morning, from 11 o'clock to 6 that evening. It looks to be a good time. Come out and support the fire department. Appreciate your support. The other thing I'd like to do is I managed to get a hold of this week. It's added some rather good news in some respects. It's actually in regard to new fire ratings that we have received from the Property Insurance Association of Louisiana. Pointe Hache's rating stayed at 10. The Fire District 2 in Belle Chase was a 6, is now down to a 4. Fire District 3 in Port Sulphur was a 7, is now down to a 5. The Fire District in Buras, which is number 4, was a 10, is now a 5. Fire District 5 in Boothville was a 7, is now down to a 6. Fire District 6, which is Lake Hermitage, was a 10, is now down to a 4. And Fire District 7, which is Woodlawn, was a 7, is now down to a 5. Mr. Robichaud mentioned that we are going over the ratings for Pointe Hache and Boothville, and we'll be meeting with PIAL to find out why their ratings did not come down like the other fire departments. Once we meet with them, we're hoping to get Pointe Hache and Boothville numbers down dropped as well. And he also just had a note here to thank the volunteer fire departments for all their help and hard work on getting the ratings down.
Thank you,
Ms.
Byron.
Huh?
And one announcement
That's all I
from
had.
Mr. Russo, congratulations. I look forward to working to you. Ms. Salvan, congratulations. I look forward to working with you next year. We'll move to item 8, approval of the minutes of the October 9th and 23rd, 2014 meetings. I'll offer. Second by Mr. Hinckley. The machine is open on approval of the minutes. And the minutes are approved 8-0. The motion has been entertained by Mr. Hinckley, second by Mr. Burris. The machine is open on adjournment. And adjournment is 8-0. We adjourned at 5:01.